Welcome friends, welcome back to the kitchen, welcome back to Sunday morning and the Old Cookbook show. Today's Old Cookbook is this one, New Delineator Recipes, published in 1929 by the Butterick Publishing Company. And so Butterick Publishing, if you sew or you did sew at some time in the past, Butterick published all of those sewing patterns. And in the 1920s, they had a huge business with magazines and cookbooks that all sort of fed into their business of trying to sell you these sewing patterns. And so it's all sort of interconnected. And this is a great cookbook. There's so much in here, and there's a lot of photographs. For 1929, I'm kind of surprised at how many photographs are in it. But we're not going to make a recipe from the book. We're actually going to make a recipe that's handwritten on the back cover of the book. And this recipe has no name, has no directions or method. It says nothing about how to mix it, doesn't say what it is even, or how to bake it. It's just a list of ingredients. I'm thinking it's a cake, so we're gonna jump right in. So into the stand mixer, I'm gonna put some butter, and I'm gonna cream that up until it's nice and soft and fluffy. Once the butter's softened, I'm gonna put in the sugar, and we'll cream those two together. Once the butter and sugar is creamed together, I'm going to crack in 2 eggs, one at a time. So you let the first one mix in most of the way before you start putting in the second. And you can help that along. So while those eggs are mixing in, I'm going to mix some of the dry ingredients together. So I have flour here, baking soda, some cinnamon, and ground cloves. And we'll just give that a stir together. Okay, that mixture's coming together really nicely. It's time to move on to the next ingredients. And I'm going to say I put in a little bit of flour and then a little bit of applesauce and alternate back and forth between these two like you would if you were putting in milk and flour. And then all of the fruit and nuts in at the end. So I'm going to put in a little bit of flour. Wait for that to mix in, and then spoon in some applesauce. And then just go back and forth until everything's mixed in. Now it's time to mix in the last few ingredients, and those are raisins, nut meats, and dates. And it doesn't say whether to chop the dates or not, or to chop the nut meats. Really, a recipe like this is just to remind whoever wrote it kind of what's in it, so you don't forget something. As much as you think you might remember a recipe, because I do that, sometimes you forget something and at the end you go, oh yeah, that's why it's no good. I forgot to put in the whatever. So I'm going to mix this together. My next decision is what size pan to put it in. I'm thinking a 9x9. So I have a 9x9 here that is buttered and has a parchment sling in it. I've preheated the oven to 350 because 350 is a really good, safe temperature to put it at. And for everyone who has noticed the last little while a high whine in the background of every shot where I'm cooking in this oven, I try really hard to pull that out. And it's not the convection fans in this oven. It's the cooling fan that keeps the electronics cool. I had that in my last oven as well, but you never heard the fan. It was silent. You had to get right up against it to hear it. This one, it's high, it's loud, it's whiny, it's horrible. And so depending on when this video comes out, you may have already seen the replacement of this oven. And I don't know if that sound would be a problem in a home kitchen. Here it is definitely a problem. I think it probably would drive me nuts in my home kitchen. It's the only problem with this oven. Otherwise, it's absolutely fantastic. It holds temperature really well. It's bang on with the temperature controls. But sadly, it has to go. So I'm on the hunt for a replacement, which is a real pain because when you go shopping for an oven, you can't turn them on the showroom and listen to them. And nobody has any information on that fan noise. So into the oven, I'm thinking I'm going to start looking at it at about a half an hour, see what happens. Keep a close eye on it. But I got to tell you, I think this is going to be a winner. Hey, Jules.
Hey, Glen.
So,
Hey, friends. That's some good-looking cake.
it's a cake with no name. It's a recipe with no name. I'm going to say it's an applesauce cake.
Okay, it's moist.
It is very moist, isn't it? Mm-hmm.
Another very tasty spice cake with dried fruits and nuts. But it's super moist. It's really lovely, the applesauce.
And then it's moist. It's not meant to be iced. It's meant to probably be eaten right out of the pan. Something that's easy to put together. Almost an emergency cake. I need a cake. Because, you know, that happens.
I'll just say most people put this kind of a cake in the freezer for an emergency.
For an
cake.
emergency.
But
so this is really good. Really moist. Really kind of flavorful. You could play with the fruit that you put in, the dried fruit that you put in. I put in pecans, but you could put in walnuts or almonds or any of those things. Mm-hmm. This is a winner. No clue who wrote it in the back of this book.
if it looks familiar to you, speak up.
Well, this is a cookbook that was sent in by a viewer. And there's a good chance that someone in their family wrote in the back of this book and put that in there. So if it is from your family, thank you very much for sending this book in. This recipe's a winner. And now you'll be able to make it again, even though you've sent me the book. Thank you very much. This is a winner. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.